right. Well, how about you, Marina? Do you have a dream that you'd like to discuss? Uh,
I have a dream, but I don't want to necessarily hog the stage, so to speak. If someone else's is around as well.
well, I mean, I think you know, you're as important as anybody else, aren't
I
you?
guess.
Well,
I've been
well, why
having,
don't you just try
I've
it?
been
And I mean,
okay. I've been having
unless
some
you'd rather
interesting
have
dreams.
listen to somebody else first or whatever.
No,
So,
I'm
yeah,
happy to go. I'm happy to go for it. I've been having quite a few
okay.
dreams, and I've been quite good about writing them down as well.
Yeah, well,
Um,
great.
the thing with
Let's
dreams
just
is,
try one. Yeah.
yeah, okay, let's go for it. Right. So, um, I'm on my way somewhere. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm walking along a country path, and the path gets narrower and narrower and more impassable. But I go for it anyway. And then, of course, I realize it's too much and I need to turn back. So, on my way back, I pass a bird of prey's nest, but I'm very close to this bird of prey and it has chicks in it. And I know that the mother bird, may well attack me.
Mhm.
And so I use a jumper to protect myself as I walk past it and use this jumper as a screen.
Mhm.
And I manage to get by it quickly.
Mhm.
Then I see where I should have gone, and I see some people and they're walking down some steps. So I've obviously taken the wrong turning.
Mhm.
So I see these people milling around and I walk down the steps. And it's quite interesting because I'm making my way to a place called Arthur's Chair. Um, and when I'm down there, there's a limitation to the number of people that can be there and what can be photographed. It feels sacred, and I know that it's a significant place. And I see this chair that's dimly lit. It looks like a throne and it has wood carvings, but I didn't stay long enough to really focus on what the carvings were. And then I leave.
That's the dream. Yeah. Now,
Mm.
yeah, beautiful. A beautiful dream. You know, one thing I really like about dreams is I listen to them. I'm thinking all the time to myself, oh, what could this possibly mean? You know, and how can we ever interpret this? But we do it anyway. You know, we just start with it. Hi, Kevin and Charles. Just getting going here in a dream. I'm going to repeat it. And I think I missed a couple spots, but you can help me, Marina. It's Marina's dream.
Mhm.
Okay. You are on a journey. Okay. And it's in what looks like a country garden. And the path that you're on gets narrower and narrower until it's almost impassable. Or did you say impossible?
No,
It's almost,
I said impassable, but it was impossible as well.
yes, impassable and impossible. So you need to turn back. Okay. That's the first portion of the dream. Okay. You're on a journey. It's a country garden. The path gets narrower and narrower. It's almost impassable. And then you need to turn back. So then you turn back. And on the way back, you see a birds of prey nest. And you're very close to the nest. And you see that it has chicks in it. And you say you're afraid that the mother bird may attack you, and she's dangerous because she's a bird of prey too. She's a bird of prey. She's very has sharp talons and sharp
Hmm.
and fairly large.
Yeah.
Now, you use what did you mean by a jumper? You used
My sweater.
oh, your sweater.
Mm.
Okay, you used a sweater. You took your sweater off and you were going to use it
Yeah.
to fend her off. Yes. Okay. All right. And then, so that's the second part of the dream. Okay. All right. Then we go to the third part of the dream. This is a wonderful dream in the
Mm.
set up here. Okay. You then see where you should go, and you need to make a descent. Okay. So that means you need to go into the depths, okay, or into a low place, a place that is
Mm.
lower than ego consciousness, what it means. You're going to go lower than ego consciousness. That's where you need to go. Okay. Now, other people are descending as well. Okay. Do you know whether they were either men or women or how many there were or not? Just
There were not many, and they were a mixture.
they were a mixture. Okay. Not a lot. Okay. Now, I think it was that that then you make the descent, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Now, I just wondered if I missed a spot, but you see it, you hear that it's called Arthur's Chair,
Yeah.
the place that you're going to. Okay, and it because it is such a sacred place. There's a limitation of the number of people that can go there, and like in all sacred places, it's too sacred to take a photograph of.
Mm.
You know, in other words, that's is a sacrilegious thing to do. So that means that this is so holy that it can't be defiled by touristic attitudes. It needs to the only the limitation of people means only a select can see it, and those select that see it need to come there only to have the proper relationship with it, and it is called Arthur's Chair. Okay, now it has carvings on it,
Mm.
special carvings. Now, can do you have any vague idea of what were the carvings? Just like Celtic designs, or were they animals, or were they figures of like letters or writing?
Well, they weren't animals, and they weren't writing. So they were. They were. I mean, I can't say that they were Celtic, but they were
Or just a
definitely.
design type, you know,
Yeah.
possibly leaves or some type of vegetation, or you know, just some design.
Yeah.
But anyway, it had been carved. So
Mm.
you know what was interesting? We found in what was it in Gerard de Narval that or no, it was in James Hillman in the personification at the Council of Nicaea. You couldn't come to the Council of Nicaea with embroidery on your sleeves and on the front of your tunics, because that was considered, you know, too soul-like. Too, you know, you needed to come there in a total spiritual, which there's no images, you know. So I mean, it's if you have designs on it, that's too much of the middle realm of images, you know. So King Arthur's chair is, let's not, we don't care what it's covered with, but it's covered with images.
Mm.
So that means that it is reeking of the imaginal world. You know,
Mm.
it's covered in images. Okay. All right. Now that's a good start. Let's just go through it one more time, and then I'll turn it over to everybody. I mean, the whole idea to this is like the poem in in that living symbol, you apply libido to it and it starts to come alive. You know, you apply energy to it. Okay. So we're going to take these in the this is a looks to me like it is a 3-act play. Okay. Okay. The first act is the way that you're currently going gets narrower and narrower. The journey that you're currently on, the way gets narrower and narrower until it's almost impassable and you need to turn back. Okay. That's the current journey. All right. Now this is very this is what most dreams tell us, is that the this journey that we're on right now is leads to a dead end. It doesn't lead anywhere. It goes into a place that's impassable, and it's impossible. There's no way to proceed, and the reason there's no way to proceed is because the ego can't help you with this work that the dream maker speaks of. Ego is not going to help us. Okay. So the journey that we're currently on, is getting more and more restrictive until at one point it's not going to be possible to proceed. So we need to turn back. Okay, so we have that knowledge now.
Mm.
Okay, but on the way back, we see the nest of a bird of prey. Now, the bird of prey, if it's an eagle, it doesn't have to be an eagle, but if it is an eagle is usually a sign of a spiritual bird, an animus bird. Now, see, not only eagles but owls and hawks are considered spiritual birds. Thus, they are related to the masculine logos world of high places, you know. And you see the nest of one of these spiritual birds, and it is full of possibilities. Okay, it is full of spiritual possibilities because this youth, this spiritual youth, is very much like the young boy in the living symbol. It's is a possesses ignorance and youth, the promise of youth, and it is an animus bird. So it's a spiritual bird. So it's a bird of the animus. It's the bird of feminine spirituality, basically, but it's an animus. It's this guide of souls, you know, represents high places, represents a keen eye, a differentiating eye. I mean, the eagle and any a bird of prey has these penetrating eyes. You know, they look, they can see from high places.
The eyes were very penetrating on this bird.
Yes, very penetrating. Now, the you are afraid of the mother bird is that might attack you. Now, I'm not exactly sure we should make much out of the fact that it's a mother bird of prey, but you're going to use your persona, your clothes, to fend off the spirit. Say, no, my ego wrappings will save me from the spirit world, from the animus. Seems too rare, possibly too rarefied, too dangerous. You know, this rarefied world has the air of the other about it, and since it has the air of otherness, non-ego-ness about it, it is strange, and thus can inspire fear because it's so alien to the ego. All right, now, so we first find that this path we're on is going nowhere. It gets more and more restricted, and then we meet up with the animus bird, the bird of the spirit, the bird of the rarefied high places, with the very penetrating gaze, which is a logos gaze, a gaze that, and names. Okay. Then, okay, so then that's Act 2. So now we're going to Act 3. Where do I go next?
Mhm.
The first place was impassable. I have this strange visitation or relatedness with the spirit bird. What do I do next? I go lower. I must descend. Okay, so I'm going to go down into the depths, and there's other people going down into the depths too, unknown people. So unknown parts of my psyche, unknown daemons are accompanying me into the depths. And what we find there is this mysterious chair, Arthur's chair. It's the chair of the self. It's the chair of the king of the depths. Okay, Arthur's chair. And Arthur's chair is covered in images. And Arthur's chair can only be visited by a select few. And you don't come there unless you have the right attitude. You have to come there with an aspect of, oh, how should I behave in front of King Self's chair? And I'm not going to see the self, but I'm going to see the seat of the self. Perhaps I'm not ready to see the self, but I am going to see the seat of the self, which is plenty for me. That alone is a very moving experience. In fact, you know, they would never pick in the early years of Buddhism. They would never. The Buddha would never be represented in art, and all they would show would be a pillow with that's indented. You know, in other words, the Buddha sat here. This is where the Buddha was, but the Buddha was too sacred to be shown in as a Buddha. You don't put the Buddha there. You all that you're allowed to do, since the Buddha is such a wonderful being, such a magical being, to try to portray him is too much. So what you can do is you can show where the Buddha sat. So here we see Arthur's chair in the depths. Hi, Tim. We're just having a very wonderful dream here that Marina gave us, and I'm pretty much have went through it. So why don't we go around and everybody give and one thing I want you to keep in mind, Marina, is
Mhm.
that when we're doing this, you know, we're all kind of interpreting it as our own dream, you know,
Mhm.
which is all we can do.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when we're doing group dream work here, we're doing it sort of without, we don't need to know much about the conscious attitude of you. You can fill in the blanks of your conscious attitude, but what we're doing is just trying to amplify the images of it. So if somebody says, in other words, we just take it in the right spirit. Okay, go ahead, Gary. What do you think?
Wow, what a dream. So
Right?
how did it end? Did you actually go to the chair then, or did you just look at it?
Well, I walked around it and then I left.
Ah, all right. So it's like, that's saying it's in sight, you can see the end destination. I guess, my main comment, I think, is on the bird of prey with the chicks. Um, for women, the animus is, well, the animus in general is recommended by, or is represented by multiples. So, that could easily be an animus representation too.
Mhm.
Um, and that part interests me because it's almost like the logos, the logic of the animus, which would be the animus, is like, there's some opposition or potential opposition to going back on the path that doesn't lead anywhere. And of course, and I think that's, our ego does that. We want to go down the path that we selected. We don't want to turn back. But wow, you turn back and you get to tour the chair of the self.
Mm.
So that's
Let
all I
me,
got.
if you don't mind, Roy, I'm going to just go through the dream real quick for Tim. Just summarize it real quick, and then, okay, Tim, this is Marina's, and thank you, Marina, for sharing this wonderful dream. Okay, uh, there's 3 acts in it. The first is that Marina is on a journey in the country, but the path gets narrower and narrower until it's almost impassable, and she knows she needs to turn back. And this seemed to be that this was the current, the path of the journey of the current path is leading nowhere. Okay, so then knows she needs to turn back. She finds a bird of prey nest. A bird of prey is a bird of the high places with the penetrating gaze. She finds a nest full of the nascent, or the beginnings of the animus world, the spirit world. She sees it up close. But she's worried about the possible danger of an adult spiritual one of these birds, which is so non-ego like, and so she uses a sweater to part of her persona, the clothes of the ego, to fend off this non-ego, um, in case it does come at her with too much force. It's okay to see the chicks, but if the adult comes, it would be possibly dangerous. That's the second part. The third part is she wonders where she should go now. She sees people descending steps, so she knows she needs to take a descent. This means you need to go lower. You need to descend from the ego and go
Mm.
into the unconscious or the depths. And so she follows these people. She finds their Arthur's chair, which is a sacred chair. It can't be surrounded by the mass of people. It can only be visited by a select few. It has to. You can't take photos of it. You must come there to relate to it on a sacred level, and it's covered with images of carvings,
Mm.
and it's called Arthur's Chair. Okay, and Roy, go ahead. What do you think?
Uh, yeah, Marina, why did you come calling the author's chair? What, did that just came to you, or how did you get to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't name it. It's what I heard in the dream, that it was
Heard it.
Arthur's chair. Yeah. So, um, yeah.
Are you saying Arthur as in King Arthur?
Well, I don't know, you see, I didn't know at all, but I know that I have been to Edinburgh many, many years ago, and there is a place in Edinburgh called Arthur's Seat, and it's supposed to be like a mound where Camelot was. I don't know, but this is many, many years ago, and I haven't thought about it for a long time. So I made a quick association. But I was thinking, is it Arthur's chair or Arthur's seat? But it's Arthur's seat, and my dream was Arthur's chair. And it was like a throne, like a wooden throne with the carvings.
Such a powerful image.
Yeah, I should draw it really, shouldn't I? I would try to, but
Well, I mean, it's to me, this is a unforgettable image. I mean, this would be part of my things that would, every time I saw it, let's say I drew it, I'm going to be extremely moved. Did you have anything else, Roy, or?
Oh, yeah. I get the feeling that, you know, all these other places were blocked for her. So she went into the underworld and she met sort of a god of the quest. And it's inviting her to go on a quest and to, you know, perk her curiosity. And the venture is starting. That's what I see.
Well, what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, perhaps I could just read what Maria Louise von Strand said about, she amplifies this chair in a book called Archetypal Dimension of the Psyche. And she says, the table recalls the round table of the knight errant, which was built on the model of the table of the Last Supper, and at which there was also an empty seat left vacant by Judas. The earth opens and devours whoever sits in that seat. In the Grail saga, Percival unwittingly sat in that seat and as a result was forced to seek the Grail. Thus the empty seat is a place where numerous things happens, where the course of history turns into direction of good and evil. It is the God image active in the human psyche, which is no longer to be expected in an external development projected onto history, but to which we should submit and here and now. That's pretty much what.
Isn't that beautiful, everybody? As the empty seat is. Could you read the part about first on the Last Supper? They always leave one chair
At the table of the Last
empty.
Supper.
But go ahead, just read one more time about.
Okay. The table recalls the round table of the knights errant, which was built on the model of the Last Supper, and at which there also was an empty seat, left vacant by Judas. The earth opens and devours whoever sits in that seat. In the Grail saga, Percival unwittingly sat in that seat and as a result was forced to seek the Grail. Thus the empty seat is a place where the numerous things happen.
What do you think about that, Marina?
yeah, it's quite special, isn't it?
Well, I mean, isn't that amazing that you had that's a very special chair. What do you think? I'm gonna try to get that thing in the chat, but what do you think, Tim? I think you know everything that we know.
I'm really thinking about this chair. Did you said that only the select few can approach? Is it like an empty chair? Is it something that you're attracted to sit in?
No, I mean, I didn't know that I was looking for the chair. What happened was I was going on my journey, couldn't the path I was on became impassable, so I had to turn back, which is when I saw the eagle, the nest with the chicks. And then I saw some people going down some steps and I thought, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be going. So I followed these few people. There were about 20 people. And we went down into a chamber, darkly lit, down some steps. And there was this throne, Arthur's chair.
I'm really moved by what Kevin read. That image of the empty chair being kind of a blessing and a curse, and that, you know, if the place is left empty, and you sit in it, then it becomes your quest. And that feels to me like a really important kind of interpretation of this situation.
Did you read the part, Kevin, where it says the dream states the formless one has always
Yes.
been there and still is. It is the God image active in the human psyche, which is no longer to be expected in an external development, but to which we must submit in the here and now.
Mm.
So it's the formless one. And like I say, in Buddhism, it's they also have this empty seat. It was not, I really don't believe it was till Buddhism got to Ceylon or to Southeast Asia that they started to portray the Buddha as a formed being. But
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
I was also thinking like this is that very important, at least for me, is that it is the God image active in the human psyche, which no longer to be expected in external development projected onto history. So for me, that there is a integration of whereas the self is usually projected onto political fraction in the outer environmental or perhaps even religion. But here where it says, when you encounter the chair, there is also a retract of the energy of the self in towards oneself. So it's the loosening up of projection outside. So I don't know if you already have done that, but for me, that would be my key point, to see that, the self is perhaps no longer out there as much as it is, a reintegration of the self.
Were you done, Tim? Did you have anything else?
Well, it does kind of remind me of what I think of as our individual Grail quest to find, to find the divine image. And the empty throne is a perfect setup for that, because the divine image is unique to each one of us, and there is no image. It's just the receptacle which we have to fill with our own material. It's the call to the self that brings that forward.
But the idea of alchemy, is that we are not in need of redemption. We are the ones who redeem, and that means as the ego, we redeem the divine within us, and the way we it's imprisoned within us, and through through the ego lending its attention, and through basically submitting to the divine within it, it allows the formless one to form. So until we allow that ego attention to brood and incubate the divine that's within us, it's formless, and doesn't really possess very many qualities. Charles, how are you doing? What do you think about this dream? I just am so grateful to Marina.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting dream. I like how as soon as she turns away from her path that has become too narrow, she's immediately met with a like new life. It is a new path, and a new life is right there.
Very good.
And there's a being that is looking over the new life and taking care of it, but And of course, you know, the ego is going to have some sort of kind of defensiveness towards this sort of like new endeavor anyway. But it really, the whole idea of the empty chair of Arthur really resonates with me, and my kind of affiliation with the goddess Isis, having her headdress as a throne of the pharaoh, which very much is, yeah, it's like the rightful place of the self. And I was curious, you said you went into the chamber and you walked around the chair. I mean, did you literally like walk a circle around it?
Maybe not a full circle.
I was curious about that because that would have been really interesting too, to kind of walk this circle around it, kind of orbit.
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, I like the thought of doing it, but maybe I didn't do a full circle. Maybe I came in and walked around, and it was more like maybe half a circle.
Right. Well, I think something Roy said too, that like the god of the quest. It's very much, yeah. This is very much a dream of the quest, of the quest to, you know, the Holy Grail, or, you know, whatever the highest quest. I guess Carl Jung would say the quest of individuation. Yeah, no, I mean, is this a very recent dream too?
Yeah. Yeah, within the last week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very quest oriented and saying to me that it's pointing towards something new and it's pointed towards the right way. And yeah, I don't know. I would. It's the path to wisdom and love and enlightenment. So yeah, I would be happy with this dream if I had it. That's for sure.
I think anybody would.
That was really special.
You know, Percival unwittingly sat in a seat and as a result was forced to seek the Grail. Kevin, you have a wonderful memory.
No, not really.
It's beautiful. Well, do you mind if we just, you were Googling it or something? Well, let's just one more time. Well, yeah.
Let me see. Yeah. The table recalls the round table of the knights errant, which was built on the model of the Last Supper, and at which there was also an empty seat left vacant by Judas. The earth opens and devours whoever sits in that chair. In the Grail saga, Percival unwittingly sat in that seat and as a result forced to seek the Grail. Thus, the empty seat is a place where numerous things happens, where the course of history turns into direction of good and evil. It is the God image active in human psyche, which no longer to be expected in the external development projected onto history, but to which we should commit in the here and now.
It's just, anyway, it is, I just want to quickly describe it. The journey that we're currently on is almost impassable because it gets narrower and narrower. We can't, at some point, we're going to need to turn back. Then Charles, wonderful, after we turn back, we meet new life, and we meet the new life of the animus, the new life of the being of high places, you know, and yet we sense a certain amount of danger there, and use whatever we have of the ego, which is the clothes that we wear, our persona, to protect us against this, the potential danger of the animus, the being of high places, with the keen eye, the keen seeing eye. The keen seeing eye is very alarming. And then we see that we need to go, where do we go next? There's a question. I see where I should go next. And we see there are the place to go is to a descent. And in the descent, we find the empty chair of Arthur. Arthur it has a very interesting image of when he goes to Avalon. You know, I don't remember exactly what happens, but I believe that he is taken there in a boat to an island called Avalon, you know, and he's there still, you know, but he's, and I'm not sure I've got that right, but you know, Merlin also disappears, you know, so there's this idea of the empty chair, and then the wonderful image of whoever sits in that chair is what he says, Percival unwittingly sat in that chair, and as a result was forced to seek the Grail, to go on the quest. Now, the quest we learned from the living symbol is the stone represents the quest, because it is both the beginning of the work and the end of the work. So this prima materia, which is the beginning of the work, implies the end of the work. So it implies it's both the beginning and the end. So it implies a journey. So this chair is the end of the work, and you saw the new life, which was the beginning of the work. So when you turn back from the path that's too constricting, you meet the new life, which is the beginning of the work. Then you take a descent into the depths, and you see the end of the work, which is Arthur's chair. You know, now this is a extremely big dream. It's a very archetypal dream, because what does this have to do with our ego world? Nothing. It's nothing to do with the outer world. This is the divine Sophia presenting to you her outline of wholeness. She's just presenting it in 3 stages. Marina, this path you're on, or this path we are all on, is too constricting, too narrow. It's going to be impassable. At some point we have to turn back. When we turn back, we meet new life of the inner, of the soul, the guide of souls. For the woman, it's the bird of prey. It's the animus bird. And we meet the new life of the guide of souls. Then we see, where do we go? Where does the quest lead? It leads into the depths. And what do we meet in the depths? We meet Arthur's chair. It's beautiful. Well, anyway, that's just absolutely lovely.
Well, thank you so much for
Yes.
that. Thank you.
Well, now I would believe either Roy, Kevin, or Tim are up for a dream. If either 3 of you have one?
Well, I've got one.
Okay, well, yeah, go right ahead, Tim.
I think of this as a really, really happy dream. I don't know if you guys ever have this experience, but oftentimes my dreams have a kind of aesthetic quality. Like if I was the art director of a film I would be just absolutely fascinated with some of the things that my dreamer comes up with. And this is one of these dreams. I had it about 2 or 3 days ago. I'm in my family's house, and down the street is a big mansion. And somehow I've been given permission to study the architecture of this incredible mansion. And I find myself crawling around on the outside of the building. It seems to me that it's sort of neoclassical, but it has these carved letters that make up maybe well-known sayings or something that is part of the architecture. They're like encrusted on the outside of the pillars and the entablature of the building. And I'm fascinated with this stuff. I've been studying it through a telescope or something, but now I'm crawling around on the actual building. And there's part of it that I can't reach. So I go to the door, I bang on the door, and I'm welcomed inside. This is a family of about maybe 6 people, parents and about 3 or 4 kids that are maybe late teens, early 20s. And the oldest boy welcomes me in, and they're very friendly. One of the first things they do is give me what seems like a wad of cash in a plastic bag. And, you know, it wasn't anything I was expecting. And I think, well, gee, that's very nice. And I put it on a shelf so I don't have to carry it around, because we're going to have kind of a tour of the house. It turns out they're all musicians, and I'm a musician. So we sit down and we start jamming together, and I'm playing this big kind of a long sitar or something, some kind of an instrument I've never seen, but it's got strings and I know how to play with the strings, and I'm kind of bending notes and having fun playing with these guys. And the sound is coming out of a big, what seems to me like a bank of organ pipes in the next room. And as I'm playing, something breaks or it becomes maladjusted. And I say, whoops, and they say, oh, this happens all the time. And one of the siblings, this girl, pretty girl that's about maybe 18, 19, she starts taking me through the house because we're going to go repair this. And we go through this elaborate architecture through a courtyard, and the courtyard has been flooded. So we have to wade through the water. And then on the other side, we get up some steps and into a hall, and open the door, and there's a hallway into another building. And I recognize that the water is some kind of special water that does not sink into my pants. It just falls off like mercury. And I think, wow, this is very expensive water. So she's taking me on the route to this instrument that I am so looking forward to seeing. Everything about this house is so fascinating, and I'm just full of delight to be there. And then it seems like an older woman that I know who has bought some of my work and is sort of a fan of mine takes me into a kind of outbuilding or a garage. She enters, she turns around, she exclaims, oh, wow, look at that. And I follow her and I look where she's looking, and there are these plaques or mounted posters or something in a case. And one of them is about an exhibit that I did many years ago. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start on it. Again, with dreams like this, it's a play, and we need to find out what chapters are, and we just look at one chapter at a time. Okay. So it is there is a house, which is just down from your house, your family's house, down from your family's house. There is a big mansion, and this is a house that you have admired from afar for many a long time with telescopes and things, but you've been given permission to study its architecture. Okay, and it's neoclassical. It's covered with script, some type of like rune script. It's encrusted with with some kind of written text, which we can only imagine is going to be something worthy of being on outside of such a magical house. Okay. And then there is part of this house that is not accessible to the ego's reach or your reach. So it's not accessible to the ego's reach. So you are not an existentialist. You don't go up to the door of wisdom and don't knock. You knock, and the door opens, and it's a wonderful, lively energy of very energetic beings within this magical house, which you've admired for a long time through a telescope. Okay, so what does a telescope do? Let's just think about a telescope for a second. A telescope brings the far images near. It brings the far images nearer us. So it takes something that is if with the normal eye is almost not visible, but there's an instrument that brings it near. So somehow with the aid of a magical instrument, this faraway place has become known to us, and it's become something we want to study, and it has amazing architecture. So the fact that it has amazing architecture means that it was built by the muse of the creative, by craftsmen. It has to do with a magical craft. So this is a magical house in about every way, and it's covered in these fabulous descriptions. But now the ego can look at it, but there's aspects of it that aren't accessible to ego. Okay, so we need help. And how do we get help? We go within. We try to go within, and Tim has the wit to knock on the door. So he opens the door, and it's full of a wonderful musical family, a family of whose wisdom is expressed lyrically, not with the intellect. So the wisdom of this group of people is a psychological type which has to do with the feeling function. Okay, Tim, what is? Do you know your psychological type? What is your dominant function? Do you know?
I'm a INFP.
You're an INFP. So you are a introverted introverted intuitive,
Right.
with a feeling as your extroverted function.
INFP, Greg.
Oh no, yeah, it's the other way around. Yeah, he's an introverted feeling type with an extroverted intuition. So your dominant function is feeling, and you're correct. I always get those mixed up, Kevin. For an introvert, the last letter refers to the extroverted function, so it's always going to be the auxiliary. So, so the P would be either sensation or intuition. So You're an extroverted intuitive, and you're an introverted feeling type. Okay, it's very good for an artist. Okay, so you are a you are a introverted feeling type. You're moving into an extroverted feeling home. You know, but the house itself seems to be very intuitive as well. So it's almost like you're moving into your own type here, but I think I'm getting a little muddy here. Let's stop talking this way. Okay, so anyway, you move into this place where the feeling function is very, very strong, you know, and you know, very friendly, very related, and then they give you a lot of psychic energy. They say, "Here, Tim, we give you the gift of psychic energy," you know, and it's in this transparent receptacle. This is psychic energy for you. Well, okay, thank you, but I don't really need it right now. And you put it up because you're so interested still about the inner sanctum of this house, you know. And so you join them in a in the feeling function by joining in this this language of the feeling function, which is the lyrical. Okay, it's the language of the feeling function. You know, I mean, the language of the thinking function is prose. The language of the feeling function can be poetry, can be music. You know, it can be art, but it's not thinking. You know, so anyway, then the music is coming out of a wind pipes, organ pipes. I mean, they have to do with the spiritual, the fact that they're pneuma. You know, the sound comes out of pneumatic, a pneumatic, some type of a pneumatic instrument, and yet there is a disharmony here. Okay, now the disharmony here to me represents possibly the inferior function. You know, there's something missing here, and I'm not sure what it is yet. Okay, so anyway, at that point, okay, um, uh, they say this always happens when it, you know, whenever the spirit gets involved with the feeling function, whenever logos gets involved with the feeling function, there's you know, those there actually is see the why is stringed instruments related to the pneuma, and this, you know, there's this aspect of the spirit and the this lyrical thing. There's a slight dissonance between it. So who's going to help with this? Now I am getting a little bit, you know, off kilter here, but just let me keep going. Okay. Then you meet a nymph-like anima figure who is going to take you to help bring harmony to the pneumatic device of the sound, and make the lyrical, the playing of the lyrical instruments and the expression of the lyrical through the pneumatic tubes work more in harmony, because there's a dissonance. Okay, so the anima, the guide of souls, is taking you on a journey through the magical house to cure the fault between this pneumatic aspect and the more feeling eros lyrical. Okay, so there'd be the logos aspect of the feeling of something to do with I can't define it right now. Okay, so anyway, you go through and you enter a courtyard that has been flooded. So this you're going to have to proceed through the unconscious before you can go to the place where harmony is formed. So before you can go to bring harmony to this aspect where there is dissonance, you must first, you know, where I was in a group one time in a dream reading the Red Book, and they said, oh, the genuine Red Book is going to be read, but first it has to be immersed in water, in magical water. You know, we can't read the genuine Red Book until it's been immersed in the magical unconscious. You know, so in other words, the you need to pass through the magical unconscious first, and the water is magical. It is almost a dry water, so it's a water that doesn't that falls off you almost like talcum powder. You know, it's unconscious, but it doesn't adhere to human skin. How's that? It's not, it has no adhesive, you know. It doesn't have what Charles is, aren't you the expert, Charles, on the surfaces of water?
Oh yeah,
You
the
know,
water
you always,
tension dynamics and all that. Yeah.
yes, why it adheres to anything it touches, why it forms drops that you know cling to the sides of walls and things. Okay. Anyway, this
I thought about
does
it
not
also
possess that.
as
Pardon
being
me?
the unconscious that I can't absorb.
Yes, it's the unconscious that you can't absorb. In other words, you can go through the unconscious, but it doesn't adhere to you. This unconscious is sort of almost an airy unconscious. You know, even though it appears like it's water, it does not adhere to us. We just pass through it, and nothing of this nothing of this type of unconscious will adhere to us and stay with us. It just, you know, doesn't have the adhesive quality, but it's still in that concept has a magical quality. But again, there's so much magic in this. This will take several stabs, you know. So then you go into the hallway where the music is will be harmonized. Now, you don't really say what happens there, but you just have a feeling of delight of to be there. You didn't mention? Did you cure the harmony of the pipes or not? I didn't hear anything.
No, it's just like
No.
this, the scene changes and all of a sudden we're in this next
Yeah.
room.
Okay, all right, sure. Well, so we've got the first of all the house and the fact that it's magical from the outside, and it's one that has always been far away, and you've tried to make it come near. Now you actually can go examine it. You go in to there's places. It's still not accessible to the ego, even though you're there. So you have to go within, and you find the feeling function there lives is very, very strong. And yet the problem is that the feeling function, which even you enjoy, join in, there's an expression of it which is dissonant, and it becomes dissonant when it moves into the spiritual realm, okay, which is the pneumatic organ pipes, okay.
You know, there's another detail I left out.
Yes.
That is when I first got into this house, everything is so spectacular and so beautiful. But I noticed that the art on the walls is all this sort of cheesy, conservative Western realism that I think of as being, you know, not very illuminated. And I have this thought, oh, you know, maybe they need better art in their house. Maybe they'll like what I do.
Okay, now that might tie in with the end of the dream too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go into this house, which in every way is magical, other than the expression of the music in the organ tubes has a dissonance, and the expression of art has a dissonance. So
Hmm.
there seems to be in both the expression of the lyrical and the expression of the art there, it doesn't, it is not consonant or it doesn't complement the magic of the place, of the temenos that you're in, the one that's covered with all these wonderful scripts and it's always been so appealing to our imagination. We've always wanted to be there and we feel honored to go examine it, you know. But there's two aspects of it. One is the feeling function falls flat when it goes through the spirit. Okay, that's number one, and number two, the art is very flat as well. So not only is the expression of the lyrical flat when it goes through spirit, but the art is flat as well. So there's those two things. See, this is something I think we're not going to get to the secret tonight, okay? But it's one that we might want to revisit again, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 sessions to really get at. You know, I think it might require a little bit of a little bit more organized presentation too, so we can really piece it together. Okay, so then you go through the you see there's so many aspects here that are extremely fascinating and pregnant with messages. But we don't know what they are. What is the meaning of the water that doesn't adhere to us? You know, I think Tim kind of mentioned that. Okay, and I'm going to finish with this, and then we'll list. Now you see, this dream is so full of mystery, yet we're not getting too close to it. At least I don't feel I'm getting close to it yet. But that doesn't mean it. I know that it is full of mystery. Okay, so then after the scene changes, after you went through the water that doesn't adhere, you know, you find an older woman who is sort of a patron of yours, you know, one who's been supportive of creativity in your life. So now we're going to say that this is a feminine presence in the unconscious that is also supportive. She's has to do with a femininity that is related to the wise old woman, and she's a supporter of the creative efforts, and she has shown she has favored some of your exhibits. Can you describe that one more time? She takes you to an outbuilding where there is an exhibit in plaques and of an exhibit of art you did a while ago. Can you say that one more time?
There are these objects, and I don't know if they're posters or something in a display case that none of the rest of them grab my attention except for this one thing, which is like an old advertisement or something about an exhibit that I did years ago.
Okay. All right. Now, again, I mean, this is one I'm going to have to mull over for a few days too, I think. And it's not because it's so long, it's because it's so full, you know. All right. So Gary, now don't feel that you have to encompass the whole dream. Remember, what if this was your dream or whatever? I mean, approach it any way you want. Go ahead.
So we've got a bad note, you know, so you're in the new spiritual place where you will, you know, that you've sighted in the distance and now you're being welcomed in. But it's not yet complete. You hear a bad note, and there's also some art that you really wish could be replaced. Well, the bad note sets in place a journey to the courtyard And then that requires going into the unconscious. When you come out of that, the water falls off like mercury, which to me says that what was unconscious is now integrated into the conscious. That's resolved. And in this outbuilding, you see the new art that you see your art, your creations. And so it's like this sounds like maybe that will even repair the bad note, because this is the other thing to come, your own art on the walls. And maybe that was the disharmony in the creative playing. That's what I got out of it.
Okay, well, I like the way that you're connecting the transitions. But how about you, Roy?
Yeah, I have some different thoughts. What I know, it's just my opinions and just things that come to me. Don't take anything serious. When he was looking on the outside of the house, it was something abstract. It was inanimate and abstract art. But when he enters the house, he's met with something that isn't abstract. He's met with something that's real. They gave him a bag of cash. Now, if you know anything about astrology, the second house is the house of money. You're going to look about how you relate to money. It's the second house. And cash always means self-worth and emotion. So that's the first sign. There's something to do with feelings here, emotion. And these people were very friendly. I live down near Miami. We have a lot of Latinos, and they have all this warmth. These people reminded me of how the Latinos are. They're simpatico and the warmth. Okay, there's this disharmony. There's this disharmony. And then the young animal leads him through this water, but the water didn't wet him. And so a lot of times water's interpreted as feelings and emotion, but he couldn't, it didn't soak in. And then he's led by this old woman or something where there's an exhibit where there's plaques. And he noticed a plaque of some old exhibit that he did a long time ago, but that's an inanimate object. It's an abstract thing, an inanimate object. He didn't seem to get all that warmth and feeling. And that's just, I don't know, I just got that out of the blue. I don't know where it comes from. That's some things I saw.
Well, the one thing I like about that you said that we want to remember is the unconscious water in the courtyard didn't soak in. That's a wonderful way to put it. What do you think, Marina? Oh, go ahead, Kid Tim.
To what Roy said, I think that's really insightful. That at the very end, this art that is my own, there's no feeling. It's in a case. It's old stuff. It doesn't apply. I think that's really significant. That I'm coming out of this lively, beautiful, energy-filled house with these real characters, and into this place where the art, which before I had thought maybe a solution of some kind, it's kind of dead or calcified, or there's no emotion there. That's a really good point.
They're bookends. The bookends, which Roy was describing, are the ones of the fact of the outer surface of the house was very abstract, even though it was fascinating. It's very abstract, and then the outside, then the end of the dream is there is art there that caught your attention, but there's no feeling function. And then in between, there is a tremendous feeling function, but then some type of a disharmony which needs to be corrected. The feminine comes in, and there is the water that doesn't soak in, and then it's this don't you think that this is tying things together a little bit? I don't know how yet, but I feel
Yeah.
things tied together a little bit
Right.
more. Of the fact that you're saying you don't feel emotion at the end of that part, and the first part it is a more it is a fascination without the realness. I think that's what Roy said, that it's more of a sort of a fantasy fascination, where once you go in, it's not fantasy at all. It's very real, and really engages emotion and feeling function. Marina, what do you think?
Yeah,
Say anything if you
I had,
your dream.
yeah, I had a few thoughts. I might be coming at it a bit basically, but I was thinking about like the big mansion and what that might represent symbolically. And I think it's interesting that you want to study the architecture, and I'm kind of making a connection between the self and the archetype of the self. Just sort of playing with words, really. So that's what I thought, and I'm I'm wondering what these well-known sayings were that were on the wall, and you might imagine what they may be for you. I don't know, but you're fascinated and you're crawling around, and then the other connection is that you put the cash to one side, and I don't know what that is about because it's not important. It's obviously cash isn't important. And then the other thing is the opposites of the young woman and the old woman, and they both guide you, take you somewhere, direct you somewhere, show you something, take you through. And very, very, rusty thoughts there, but I don't know whether that's helpful at all, Tim.
Well,
That is
it
helpful
helps
in
me.
that
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
thought I hadn't occurred to me is the young woman leads me into the water, and on the other side is where the older woman kind of takes over, and they're both, guides into this magical world.
Yeah, the younger woman is supposedly going to take you to cure the flat note and the flat and potentially the flat art. Yet what she does actually is she takes you into to the this magical where the place of magical water. Or also you have to remember too, this is not a pool, this is not a pond, this is not a fountain. This is a place where the courtyard has been flooded, so there's an aspect of that the unconscious seeped into a place where it doesn't belong, and but the anima has led you there, and it's the type of water that doesn't soak in, the type of unconscious that doesn't soak in. Okay, anyway, I just trying to say this in my own mind to myself. How about you, Kevin? What do you think?
Yeah. I was someone has a long dream, but okay. It's just my thoughts. Please correct me if I'm wrong. For me, the big mansion is the image of your psyche. And you're visiting a family which plays music, And you have also pillars there with quotes. Um, for me, it would be a hint to study my family background, whether you have something in your family that has influenced the collective consciousness. You know, they are inscripted on pillars. So, you know, the psyche gives us image not of ourselves only, but, you know, the collective unconscious as reflected in the collective consciousness. Then you move into this place of your psyche, which there are 6 people. I would assume that the both parents are personified, the divine couple with 4 kids, which is a number of wholeness. So you really have a, you know, the number 6 going on here, which is also symbolized of the David stars, the union of feminine and the masculine. And we will see this union once we go further in. Then they give you the Torah, yes, and you find an instrument which you have never seen. This could be, I think, an allusion to when we, in our everyday life, we form different brain connection, different complexes and so on. And often there are sort of a birth to a new, either a new complex, but they could also be a birth to a new consciousness, because the psyche is constantly renewing itself to grow. And so the new instrument I would study more, perhaps draw, and see whether it's just a synthesis of different meanings, or whether it is an allusion to actually a new instrument, meaning a new way of doing things. And the 19 years old girl might be, I don't know when you started your arts. When did you start, if I can ask that, like when did you start working with arts?
When I was 10.
When you was 10, okay. So I don't know too much about the 19 years old girl, but anyway, she takes you to this place, which is your backyard. Is it your, and there you find which seems to be Mercury, a flooding of Mercury. You know, the backyard also, we saw the image in Child's Dream, where he also had, you know, 7 gardens left. The gardens could be the symbol of soul, and there's where is the Mercury floods in. I think the best book I can give on this is like Windows on Eternity with Carl Jung, or Maria Louise van France talks about the images of Peter Birkenhauser, you know, where he has to constantly work with his inner spirits. And this inner spirit is essentially the Mercury, you know, the substance which needs to be transformed, because the Mercury is already unified. It needs to, you know, it needs to be separated and unified again, but this time with a conscious awareness. So the flooding, I would say, is the potential realization of the opposites within your psyche that is still there. And it is still there, you know, because even when you went in, they gave you energy, they gave you money. So your psyche is giving you money. So this Eros aspect is giving you money, which makes sense because you're doing art. And these people, the same people, taking you to the backyard where you have the substance which needs to dissolve and reunite only this time with, you know, this is the potential of arts, basically, or whether the work you're endeavoring. Okay. And so on the other side, there is the older woman, which I feel is the symbol of the great mother. So you have a younger anima, which is more a personified anima in your real life. And then you have the great mother, the older woman. So they are next to each other. It makes sense because, you know, who creates arts? You know, it's not the person adds something to the collective unconscious, also to the collective consciousness. And also it adds also something to our individual self. But its root, you know, is the great mother, you know, the root where everyone comes from. We come from nature as such. And so the great mother is obviously has also your arts, you know, she has it and she shows you, because she is, you know, you don't create art individually. If, you know, if you're a very good artist, you know, it's always a relationship between your ego and your great mother. And so that the very fact she has your art means that you know, your art does not only extend to your personal ego, it also extends to the collective unconscious, you know, to it affects everything basically. Yeah, that's pretty much.
That you're amazing. What do you think to that, Tim? And then I want to.
Oh gosh, that's
Yeah,
that's
wow.
so rich.
Beautiful.
I really like that, Kevin.
You're getting very good at this.
Yeah, I'm learned from the best.
Oh, I don't know.
So,
Okay, let me add a couple comments, and then why don't you say what you think, Tim? But I love the image that the mansion is the psyche. I mean, there's some things that Kevin said, which I think are absolutely true, okay, about this dream that we haven't said yet. And one of them is that the mansion represents the psyche, okay? And to me, the clue to the validity of that is down from our family's house. Can you say how you said that again? Down from our family's house,
Yeah, just
there
down the
was a
street.
big mansion. Okay, down from the house of your ancestors, down from the house of the place of your birth, is the big mansion. Okay, the big mansion is. How did you actually? Did you write it down? Could you
Yeah.
reread that part?
Um, my recollection is it's like a McMansion. It's a big, huge, single family house, and my family's house is just a normal kind of small house,
Mhm.
but this thing is huge. It's beautiful, and it's encrusted with these carvings of, as Kevin says, the collective consciousness.
Well, it's the house of the collective unconscious, I would say.
Well,
It's that.
wouldn't the interior be the unconscious and the exterior be
Well,
the
yeah, but I'm just saying when he said it was the represents your psyche.
yeah.
Yeah, I would just say down from the family's house. Now this is the ancestors of your ego, or I mean, this is the ego realm house, and then down here is this wonderful house, magical house. You know, the fact that it has magic. Jung said one time, what the ancients called magic, moderns call psyche. You know, so you could say this house represents psyche, or your psyche, or it could also represent magic. All I'm saying is that the fact that you enter the family house and this magical house, I mean, the fact you can't deny that it has magic. Can you deny that it has a magical aspect? I mean, the fact that what craftsman built this? I mean, it seems like an otherworldly craftsman.
I just
Not
remembered one other detail that is really important. I don't know why I forgot this, but when I'm walking with this younger woman, she says, "Oh, I've been to your house, and your mother would not let me in."
Okay, yeah. See, no. Well, she's the soul. Okay, the mother. If she's talking about the mother of the ego, no, she's not going to let the soul in. The soul is the being of transformation. She's going to, once you've been transformed, you're no longer her son. I mean, you've become you've become the divine child, and so you're not her child anymore. You're going to be the child of the anima, and or you're going to anyway, the ego and the anima are going to produce the divine child, who really represents you and your personality number two. Okay, now the other thing is, I think we should just stop beating around the bush and say that she's taking you into the courtyard flooded with mercury. It's not flooded with water, it's flooded with mercury. And here's what they say. It does not stick because of its dry nature. It's almost inseparably mixed with earth, and it also is known as quicksilver. So it's related to lunar water, you know. So this water, which has the dry nature, is the water of the unconscious, of the feminine realm. So it's the water of the lunar realms. It is called quicksilver, and it's a dry water, you know. But anyway, those were the two things I really struck me from what Kevin was saying, which very good, Kevin. What do you think, Charles? You had some very good comments on Marina's dream.
This dream is packed with so much stuff that it's just crazy to try to unravel.
Well, you don't just do parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I have been thinking about over and over again in my head was Tim saying that in his dream, he's like, oh, this water must have been very expensive. And I was just trying to let that kind of like, just, I don't know, kind of incubate in me. And I was like, does that mean that there's a lot of energy invested in this water, or that a lot of energy was spent in order for this water to get here? And I thought it was interesting that the water floods the area. The water floods into the area, but does not move into the individual. I just thought that was an interesting contrast. And the idea of when you're handed the money, there's so much beauty in the house and energy, I suppose, that you did not need energy in hand. You could, you know, shelf the energy. It's not necessarily needed there. And then it also seems like there's two chronic issues in the house, which is one, the pictures. You said that it wasn't just one picture on the wall, which you thought was this kind of distasteful style. It was many. And then when something went wrong in like the organ room, they said, oh, this happens all the time. Which I always find that really interesting in dreams. If it's like, oh yeah, this is a frequent thing. It happens all the time. So it points out to two like, or maybe it's just one chronic issue that there's multiple symptoms of. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And it's just so jam-packed with stuff. I wish this is a type of dream that, especially since Tim said that it almost looked like it had some type of prolific art director. It's like, you know, a dream like that, you want to see the imagery firsthand so bad, because you can just tell by listening to it how important the images are. So that's what I got on it.
I mean, you have the feeling almost like that. I always had the feeling, and I don't know why I mentioned all of it, is stepping out of the Lord of the Rings. I mean, you just feel like you've been on this wonderful adventure that you just got lost in it. But the thing I think that Charles said that I'm taken away is that you said the water must have been very expensive, and so what he's saying is it's invested with some type of psychic energy. Also, the fact is, if it is related to mercury, it's also related to silver, you know, which is a precious metal. Could we just hear a little bit from Gary, Roy, and Marina? Just any closing thoughts you have, and then, if you don't mind, next week let's spend a few minutes summing this dream up. If Tim is here. If you're not, we can do it the following week, Tim. But I'd like to sum this dream up next time. But Gary and Roy and Marina, could you just kind of give your any other additional
Yeah, I
comments
don't
you
know. I was
have?
just blown away by what Kevin picked up, and and I hadn't thought about the markings on the outside of the building, but to me, it's like symbols. It's like another communication. It's an extra meaning, and but I don't have anything past that as to what it might be.
What do you think, Roy?
No, I said my piece. I'm
Okay.
sticking with it.
All right. Well, how about you, Marina?
The only extra piece I would say, I'm just looking at my notes and having heard everyone, and it's pivotal because it comes in the middle, is there something about, and I might have misheard you, Tim, but you were playing the sitar, and did the sitar break?
No,
Did the sitar break?
no, the instrument is intact, but there's something wrong with the sound.
Ah, okay. No, that's it.
Did you have any comment, Kevin? Any other?
Not really.
Okay. Well, Tim, why don't you have the last word, but next week or when next time you're back, we're going to try to sum the dream up. And everybody's so brewed on it, Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I'll take that as a prompt to do a drawing of it, and I think maybe that'll help a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah, and I do think that we can tie this in together. But two wonderful dreams. I mean, what a wonderful. I mean, I just feel like I've been blessed by both of these dreams.
Well, thanks.
So,
everybody.
I say this is even though this is difficult, I get so much out of it. Really, I mean, dealing with these authentic contents is just, to me, is a blessed occupation. Anybody got any closing words, or we'll just reconvene, and then of course you can speak on do anything you want on if you have any thoughts, just email them out to everybody.
I was gonna make maybe one suggestion.
Yeah, sure, Charles, go ahead.
That and it's hard to ask of people because we don't know exactly who's gonna share and who's gonna show up. But that if I think it would have been helpful in these dreams, if we had them totally written out and then posted in chat so that we weren't kind of having a telephone effect to where some people remember some parts and some people don't remember a different part, and that we can have the whole dream right there and it doesn't get fragmented at all.
Boy, I'm all for that. That'd be great.
Yeah. But like I said, it's different people showing up every time, and we don't know who's going to share. So, but if you could,
and it depends on how organized your.
I agree. I always type mine out, so that would be. I mean, I think that would be so much better.
Yes. Okay. Well, then you could follow along too.
Yeah, I always wish I could read.
Well, then
the dream.
Yeah, and what I do is usually I break it up into sentences, and then I try to take out all the images and then write a little amplification of each one, at least myself personally.
But then we could copy from chat over to our thing and split it up and make notes and stuff.
Yes, exactly. That would be a much. I think that it would allow us to do a lot. I think more. It's be more in depth for sure. Good suggestion, Charles.
Yeah, do that.
And Marina wasn't coming through real well for, at times, and I was missing parts. So, it's sometimes, especially when people have questionable connections, it'd be good.
Well, yeah. And Gary is an expert at parsing text too. So
yeah.
He really is. I'm telling you. Okay. Well, Marina, thank you for making this a wonderful evening, and you too, Tim.
Thanks, everybody. That was really
we'll
special.
just reconvene next Monday. I'm so sorry about last week, but I cannot exaggerate the devastation that occurred on that day. It was, there's no way of exaggerating.
A lot of trees down.
Like I said, told one person, there was one tree that it would take a work crew 2 days to get out, and there's 300 of those.
Oh.
So I mean, this is going to be, and we still have 50,000 households with no power. So
Is this a tornado or is it just a big
it was
storm?
called a derecho. You know, it's a mini inland hurricane.
Huh.
You know, I mean,
Mhm.
100 and it went over our house. It took 45 minutes to go by our house. It was 140-mile-an-hour winds.
Jeez.
I mean, and my wife's just sitting in here like this. You know, I was in Walmart, and they said you can't leave. Everybody at the center of the store, and I said I'm going to leave anyway. And they said, okay, but you can't come back. Anyway, it's all over, sort of. But
We did get some dream work done, me, Kevin, and Roy.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. We'll reconvene next time. And thanks for a wonderful evening. Really, seriously. We'll
See
see
you
you
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.